Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. It's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like Bchl, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, 20 takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Bchl. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On Spot Sports. I'm Jack. In today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest, former professional hockey player, now former professional hockey player, Beau Bennett. Beau spent his career in the American Hockey League and the National Hockey League, along with a season in the KHL. Beau most notably played for the Pittsburgh Penguins and was a part of the 2015-16 Stanley Cup champion Penguins. He played NCAA Division I hockey with University of Denver and also spent his junior hockey days in the Bchl. So this is going to be a fun episode. So welcome to the show, Beau Bennett.
What's up, Jack? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. How have you been? Like, things have been crazy this summer, it seems like. So, like, how's everything going with you?
Everything's good. Actually, it's not as crazy as a lot of people think. I knew I was going to retire for a long time. Probably stretched it out a few more years than I should have. But not many people know this, but the KHL year, I came back after 5 games and took the whole year off. So I had my taste of retirement then, and then decided to give it one more go. And I realized I liked retirement better. So that was it for me.
Yeah, you've done a lot of traveling, it seems like. So how was all the traveling you've been doing?
Traveling's been good. I think when you're a hockey player, you're so used to moving around. I just bought my first house in Arizona, but I have the travel bug right now where I want to rent it out and just bop around throughout winter, even though Arizona is actually the nicest place in the world and during winter. So probably just going to do that and maybe just rent out my place and get an apartment, maybe in LA, maybe in Florida, and go from there.
There we go. Travel while you can, because even more. Even though hockey's probably brought you to a lot of places, but travel even more. And like when you are retiring, like you have that retirement time.
Yeah, exactly, for sure, bud.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you start things off by like giving our viewers like a little background information on yourself, like when you started playing hockey and like why you became a hockey player?
Yeah, so I grew up in Gardena, California. It's borders between like the beach area of California and Compton, so kind of is the buffer between the two. And I lived on Crenshaw Boulevard, which if you take Crenshaw all the way down, you get to the Great Western Forum. So that was right down the street for me. And I'm a 91 birth year, and I think Gretzky came in 89 or 90 to the Kings. So it became super popular to go watch games there, where they would do a roller hockey tournament in the parking lot, just like street hockey. And then if you played in the tournament, you got to go to the games because it wasn't very popular back in the day, before Gretzky got there. And so my first ever roller tournament, played in the parking lot of the Great Western Forum, went to a game that night. This had to have been the late 90s. And just kind of fell in love with ice hockey, kept going, kept watching the Kings, still played roller hockey a ton, but kind of realized by the time I was like 14, there wasn't much of a future in it in terms of scholarship, making money for my career. So made the full switch on over to ice when I was about 14, 15, but I still get out there and play roller hockey once in a while. It's been a while for me.
Yeah, for sure. How fun is roller hockey? Like that's all I did during like the shutdowns and like everything since we couldn't get ice. Like it's a different game, but like a lot of the skills translate onto the ice.
Yeah, I think for a hockey sense, it really does help you because it's more about moving people around on the roller rink because with no hitting and also too, like, you don't want to be going like full out speed all the time in roller hockey, like you kind of waiting to get your 2-on-1s, get your breakaways. There's no offsides, there's no icing, there's no hitting. So it's one of those sports that it's fun. You can just like, I mean, I remember we'd have like 6, 7 games a day and um, we wouldn't even warm up. We'd go sit on the bench, and whenever the puck was about to drop, then we'd go out there and play. But we had really good teams in California. It was kind of like the roller hockey hotbed when I was growing up, and it was one of those things that helped me get to where I was in ice, but also probably took away from some of the things that I did in ice, skating ability and stuff like that. But it was fun. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you go on to once you realize that you didn't really have a future, like you said, in roller hockey, and like you went to ice, you played 2 seasons of AAA hockey for the Los Angeles Junior Kings. And then you started your junior hockey career at the Penticton Bees and the Bchl. So like what was the process like to find that team in Penticton when you were playing for the Los Angeles Junior Kings?
So my 16-year-old year, I played for a guy named Jack Bocas. He actually passed away from cancer. He was one of the best coaches, one of the coolest guys. Just a hard nosed, made you better person and player. And that first year I played for him, I wasn't very tall, and my style of play didn't really uh, translate to the ice. So I was a little slower out there, couldn't like dictate the pace at all. So, but that summer I grew a ton, had a really good under 17 USA camp that they do every year. There's like 4 age groups that they do. And I got invited to the Omaha Lancers camp with my brother as a 16-year-old. I made that team. My parents didn't want me to go away so early, so they kind of kiboshed that. And then the draft came and I got drafted by Tri-City. I got protected by Calgary Hitmen, and then Penticton was kind of always there, just kind of like, all right, what are you gonna do? Because most guys from where I am always go to the WHL or USHL. So my first thought was I wanted to go to the WHL because a lot of the guys I looked up to were going there. The 90s, the 89 birth years were going there and killing it, having a good time. Calgary plays out of the Saddle Dome, and it was sick. When I went and saw them, they were in the finals against Kelowna at the time. So, but then my dad said, yeah, you can't go to major junior until you're 18. So, because he didn't want me to limit my options at the time. And then fast forward, Penticton's still there. Fred Harbison's calling me. I'm like, I don't want to go to the BCHL. Like, it's kind of like it's a tier 2 junior A league. Went to try out in Tri-City, got to see where they play and whatnot. And then I was surfing one day with my buddy David, and we were just talking about like where I'm going to go play. I didn't really like Tri-City, so I was like, screw it. I'll do something different than any other California's been doing. And I just called Fred. I think this had to have been at like 8 in the morning. We went out like at 6 a.m. in the water, and 8 in the morning, I called Fred. I was like, hey, Fred, I'm going to come play for you. And I didn't even tell my parents. So Fred calls my dad, and I guess he was just like shocked because he's like, I guess Fred told my dad, he's like, what'd you say to him? Because my dad wanted me to go play in Penticton for him. He said, what'd you say to make him change his mind? I was like, I didn't even know he called you. So it was one of those funny things that ended up being the best decision of my life because Penticton's an unreal place. We had an unreal team, and I got to play the style of play that got me to that point. So I think that's important when choosing a team is playing for a coach that doesn't try to change you, just tries to help you refine your game a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you go into Penticton, you put up 120 points. So, like, what was that year like for you? And just that you're able to get on the score sheet and like it felt like home, like you said, and just you had an unreal team.
Well, I mean, so I'm a little older though at that time because I waited. So I'm 17, 18. I should be putting up big numbers. It just a lot of times there's that transition period. But for me, I was on such a good team. I think I didn't realize how hot I was gonna get out of the gate, but I think I had 20 points in the first 6 games or something like that, 6, 7 games. So I was like, kind of rode that wave where uh, I played with a guy named Denver Manderson and another guy named Alex Shahura, and it was just we thought the game the same way. None of us were very fast, but it made the game super easy. So you could like we could conserve energy. So when we went on the power play, we could score. We were scoring at like 35% clip that year. And then Denver Manderson got injured, and I played center for the last 10 games, and that's when I really like poured it on at the end. Is I when you're playing center, you're getting touches like all over the ice. So
Yeah.
um, it was unfortunate for him. It was lucky for me because it got me a little bit more exposure and a little more testing at different positions, so that teams could see that I could play multiple positions. And it was a fun year and met some of my best friends there.
Yeah, absolutely. So like what was your style of play like? Were you just like the goal scorer or were you just like the playmaker that just happened to the puck find you and you find the back of the net?
Yeah, I didn't score many even strength goals that year. I was very content on kind of like poaching the power play, but and then during 5-on-5, if I had been a little more prepared, like in terms of training, like and actually being in good shape, because I didn't train or work out or warm up leading into that season. Even during the season, I was just kind of I was basically in my brain, I was like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But knowing what I know now, it set like a bad foundation of like your health and wellness going forward, because you're packing on miles without having a good foundation. So if I were to do it again and I put on some weight and got a little faster, that year could have been even crazier than what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. So like how important is that foundation? Because obviously like you were successful in that and you just found your foundation, found your styles. Like how important as a player, like trying to help others learn as well. Like a foundation is like key to success.
Yeah, like I'm one of those guys who I still believe work on all your strengths, because I mean that's obviously why you're getting looked at, like whether
Yeah.
it's your shot, make sure that that never dips. But like it's hard to first of all identify your weaknesses and then work on it, because it's stuff that you don't obviously like to do. That's why you're not good at it. And for me, that was the training aspect, that was the professionalism aspect, that was and if I were to go back, like all these kids, they get kind of pushed into weight training pretty early. I think it's just, if I were to give any advice to kids, I think it's got to be all about mobility and one arm, one leg type of work. So you're kind of building each thing separate, and that way going forward, you're set up for success, as opposed to kind of piling on to a bad foundation and then you have to get stripped down to go back up. So I think that's one of those things, making sure you're getting good knowledge from a young age so that you don't have to go back in time to try to build it back up.
Yeah, for sure. And like you see those kids that are like lifting at like what like 10 years old and you're like you and like they don't do it right and like they're
Yeah.
not taught right and then that ruins the foundation like you said and like you just got to gain some knowledge from someone that actually like really knows that and it'll help build that foundation.
Yeah, and honestly, no guy who knows what they're talking about is going to be in there forcing you to max bench press and max back squat at a young age. It's kind of about understanding your body, understanding what you need to work on, and then kind of going from there. And like um, when you're younger, you have infinite amount of energy, but I mean, you shouldn't be burning out. All the guys who I saw training at from like 10 to 14, like they never even played college hockey because they were burned out by the time it got to that point. So not to say to stay away from training, but just do it the right way, do it in moderation, and then make sure that the hockey aspect is taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you go into your college hockey days and you decided to attend University of Denver. It's like, what was it? What was it like to pick University of Denver to be your school? And how did the process to play there like happen?
So there's a few schools that were kind of there from the start. And I'd always wanted to go to BC just because I knew guys there. They were really successful, just one of those teams that I wanted to go. But they didn't want me before the Bchl, and they came in late to the party. So I kind of spurned them. And then there was a few Ivy Leagues were looking at me first because I had good grades and I wasn't that good at hockey, but I could get into the school. So, and then they'd figure out the hockey. But then all of a sudden, now I had good grades and my game was coming along. So I narrowed it down to DU and CC because it was the closest to home. And then from there, I didn't want to go on a bunch of visits throughout the year because it was a hectic year. There was World Junior A Challenge. There was the draft that year, the BCHL. I still wanted to do well for Penticton. And then I went to CC and DU back-to-back weekends. And then I just had a better rapport with the DU guys and ended up being another great decision. Met some of my best friends, had a great time. I mean, college is second to none in terms of fun. So only played 37 games there though, but it was still an awesome time.
Yeah, for sure. You had a short but a great career there. So like, what was that transition like going from the BCHL to playing NCAA Division I hockey and having to like balance out school, hockey, as well as like a social life and all that?
Yeah, I mean, it was way harder. BCHL, like I could have my way with there was already established players on the DU. So I was going into a good team who just had a good year. And it took me a while to figure out the game. It started to come along. And then my sophomore year, I started out really hot. And then I had to have wrist surgery. So that year got washed out. But I mean, there's just this whole new element of kind of balancing your time, balancing your classes. I was on the lesser end of that because I didn't take school that seriously. I was really focused on hockey. But for those who are going for a specific degree, I mean, it's taxing on the brain and on the body. So for aspiring college athletes, just be ready for a grueling schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. So like going into year one, like how was that first year of college hockey? Like you played 37 games and like while balancing all that out, like what was that first year like before going into your sophomore year?
I just knew I had to get stronger. I was kind of too content thinking I was going to do the same thing I did in the BCHL at the next level. And I mean, there's guys who are stepping right into the NHL from college. So it was a rude awakening. I think I didn't score for like the first 10 games, but started to figure it out a little bit as the season went on. And I put on some weight, came back just more confident, a little stronger, a little faster, and had a great start to the year. But I got stepped on in practice four games into the season, played 6 more games, and then realized that my tendon had actually retracted into my elbow, and I had to go in and get it back together. So I missed the whole rest of the season from that.
Yeah. So like how hard was that recovery and like what was that recovery process like? Like did you have to go like PT and all that? And like what was like the hardest part of dealing with that?
Well, the hardest part was because it was kind of a botched diagnosis. So like when they sewed me up, they said like, "Oh yeah, it's good. You'll be fine. We'll stitch it up. It's just a cut." And I was like, Jesus Christ, I can't like lift anything. And then so I was going to student health, and they thought I had a cyst here, so they kept putting a syringe in my hand, trying to suck it out. And that was like one of the most painful things in my life. But I was like, all right, just give me cortisone, something. Like if you guys want me to play, like I'll play. Played 6 more games, actually played pretty well. And then I was like, can I just get an MRI? Like they wouldn't give me an MRI for some reason. And then got an MRI and found out that was my tendon that they were sticking with the needle. And then the other part, so they had to take out another tendon from my wrist. And then I was in the cast for 8 weeks with my hand like this all the way to my armpit. And then when I got it out of it, it was just a long, grueling process of getting your mobility back, because you have to take the tension off, and then trying to get it back to here was just like a miserable experience. But looking back, like I had to leave just because Pittsburgh wanted me to progress into the next level, and I wish I would have played more games though.
Yeah, for sure. It's like throughout like your 2 years that you played college hockey, like what were some of the biggest things that you learned, like the biggest things that you had to learn, especially if you're going to be successful going forward?
In college, I think managing time management, definitely, like that's when you start really putting on weight and start developing into your body. So I think it's really important for young kids to realize, like, it's not all about like packing on the pounds, like find a weight that's comfortable to play at and just kind of optimize that weight. Cause like for me, like I got up to 212 at one point. I couldn't even move on the ice, but I was strong, but it didn't matter because I couldn't even get into positions to use my strength. So like by the end of my career, I was playing at 190, which is normal for me. So that's 22 pounds difference. And just because I'm 6'2" didn't mean I have to have like some crazy amount of weight. You just find that comfortable weight, you optimize it, and then don't let anyone tell you different, because it'll deter you from your path and your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that, like just finding that balance between weights, like you could definitely tell a difference from like 10 plus pounds more. And then like when you go to like 10 pounds less, like you could definitely tell the differences in your game and like
Yeah,
your speed and like everything that comes with the fast pace of hockey.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. So then you go on to the NHL and you go to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So like what was that whole process like to sign with Pittsburgh? Did they draft you before going to college, or like what happened there?
Yeah, they drafted me before after my Penticton year. They were happy with me going to college because they knew I needed to gain some weight, and I did that there. And then the whole injury thing happened, so they pulled me out. I went to Wilkes-Barre. I had a really good summer my year between um, my sophomore year and going into Wilkes-Barre. Kind of hit the ground running there. I think point per game through the first 22 games. And in that year, it was a lockout year. So the AHL was like stacked. So it was a good, like, eye-opening experience of playing against like NHL players. And then when the season started, I think I missed about the first 8 games. And then there started to be injuries for Pittsburgh. I got called up and had a good rookie year with no injuries that year, really. And that was probably the last time in my career I had no injuries for a year. So it was an awesome experience going into playoffs, seeing the atmosphere, playing in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bruins. And then that kind of just led me into what to expect for my career after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get drafted in 2010 to the Penguins. You go to those NHL development camps. Like what do you learn from those NHL development camps before actually getting to the NHL and playing with these elite athletes in the development camps to help you develop?
Well, the first two, I was super like immature. So it was in my freshman year, and then also after Penticton. So my Penticton one, I was really immature. So my skill was there, but my body wasn't. The next year, kind of similar, a little bit better. And then the next year was my last one, is coming off that wrist injury. I went in camp fat. Like they told me I was fat. I was like, I had been lifting, but I hadn't been doing anything that full arm cast. I hadn't been really sweating, just been going out and stuff and having fun. So it was a big wake up call, which I needed going into the next 2 months of the year. Trimmed down a bunch of weight, went on a strict diet, and then once that season started, I felt pretty good, and I felt good with my body. And um, development camp is one of those things. It just happens so quick. When you're young, you just try to not do anything wrong. When you're older, you kind of just like getting it out of the way. So it was a good experience, but I didn't like them that much, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. So then you go into the NHL on February 15, 2013. You played in your first ever NHL game. And then on February 24th, you scored your first career NHL goal. So can you take us back to those two dates and like take us through the first time hopping on the ice for warmups, taking your first shift, and then scoring that goal and then in the other game?
Yeah, I don't really remember it all that well. I remember getting called up. I had to drive from Wilkes-Barre to Pittsburgh with Billy Guerin. So we're in the car. We're just talking about stuff, life, career, whatever. I actually go to his house, meet his family. There's a game that night. I knew there was some like injury issues, so I wasn't gonna play that night. And then Dan Bosma said, "Hey, you're coming on the road with us. You're gonna play in Winnipeg." Played in Winnipeg. I don't remember any of the game except for I blocked a shot that hurt really bad, and then played the next night in Buffalo and just started to like get a little bit of a groove. I don't think I had points in any of my first 4 games. So my first 4 games were a wash. And then that 5th game, Malkin was hurt. So I was out on the 5-on-3 power play with Sid, Letang, Kunitz, and Nhl. So it was a pretty easy situation to go into. And I just remember I had a 2-on-1 with Nealer, and the pass was a little in front of me, went out to the point. Tanger kept it in over to Sid, and then he just made a sick pass across, and I didn't really have to do anything. I didn't even get a lot on it, but the goalie was pretty far out of position.
So. Yeah, what a first few games and first goal, like assisted by Crosby. Like, what was it like playing with those guys with like Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, Letang, Nhl, all these guys that are like elite in the NHL and like some of the top guys in the league?
Yeah, they're nasty. Like the way they carry themselves, the way they prepare and practice. You kind of just look at their routines that they stick to day in and day out, and that's what you kind of have to do. If you kind of have to just look at their routines and try to put one into that works for you. Because I mean, if you're playing like Patrick Marleau level games, like it's like 1,800 games or whatever he's played or whatever, you got to find something to make the days not boring or the days not just run together. So kind of just implement some things that they do and take it game by game. And I was very unsuperstitious, so I would change up my stuff other than my warm up every single day. So I just had fun with the game. To be honest, it was more of a something. Even though it was a job, I was just having fun out there.
Yeah, it's all about having fun and just living your childhood dream and just being able to be out there. Like that's the best thing, is that you're out there and you're living your dream.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, and you just pay homage to all the people who helped you get there, and you have people wanting to be a part of the journey that you haven't heard from a lot. So it's just kind of like managing those expectations from your friends, your family, the team, management, and your own expectations too. Because I mean, people don't realize, like, when people get on Twitter, it doesn't affect me. Like, I like going at it with fans. Like, it's my favorite thing. I could care less. But people don't understand, like, no one's harder on themselves than themselves. So yeah. When like people are going after you, it's like, bro, trust me, I know. Do you think I don't want to score 50 goals a game? So it's like, I think I liked it, but I think a lot of fans need to lay off some of the players that need that cushion, you know?
Yeah. When a fan throws that chirp, you gotta chirp him back. Just
I love
gotta make the fun of it.
And I don't do it for coming from a bad place, because like no one could say anything that I'd actually take offense to, unless they told me I treated them poorly, because I try to treat everyone nice, just because I don't really know what everyone's going through. But like nothing really affects me. Like you could tell me I'm the worst hockey player in the whole world. It's like, all right, well, try me then. Come, let's go one-on-one, and let's see who's gonna win. So it's like but like most fans like it. Some can't take it, but it's like, then don't dish it out if you can't take it. Because exactly. everyone's tough behind the rope, you know, and in the stand. You know, it's like if you wanna talk like that, like put your money where your mouth is, and
gotta back that shit up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then in 2016, you and the Penguins become Stanley Cup champions with the Penguins. So like, what was it, that experience being on that run? Even though I know that you don't have your name on the cup, right?
No, I don't.
So like, what was it like being on that run and but not getting your name on the cup?
Well, I wasn't really available. I hurt my shoulder in December, and I wasn't even like available. I shouldn't even played in the playoffs. I think they came to me because Shears wasn't playing that good at the time, even though he's a huge part of the cup run. Like, and Connor Shear is one of the nicest, coolest guys ever. I think he wasn't playing well, and I wasn't even expecting to play. They just kind of came to me because I was doing well in practice because I had basically just been practicing for the last 3 months. And then my shoulder's actually still mangled from a TJ Oshie hit that happened in December that year that just kept me out. And I didn't expect my name to get on the cup. Like, if in a different scenario, like I think Kevin Porter played the exact amount of games, like maybe my name gets on there, but it's not like I don't really care at all. Like, I didn't do anything to help them win it. So if I was playing, uh, I mean, who knows? Maybe we don't even win it. So if you think about it that way, it's like the guys who were on the team were pivotal in the role of winning the cup. So I have no problem with how everything went down after that. I didn't, and people thought I cared. I still don't care.
Yeah,
So
did you at least get a ring and get your time with the cup?
yeah, I got my day with the cup. I mean, I think the team realized like you can only have a certain number of names. So it wasn't like purposely leaving me off.
Yeah,
Like, it was, you could only have so many names on. I was probably the next one on, like
yeah.
um, there was, so in that regard, I got a cup ring, I got a bonus, I got my day with the cup. So no complaints from my end.
What was that day with the cup like?
Day with the Cup was awesome. Took it to my local rink. Let everyone who kind of grew up watching and supporting Southern California hockey get their time with it. And then I took it down to the beach with a bunch of buddies. Had a huge party down there. Then I went back home with it, and my parents had like all the parents of the people that were at the beach at my house, and we had like a big showing there with a bunch of my coaches. And then from there I took it to the bar, and we just got in one at the bar. And then by the end of it, it was like, all right, take this away from me, I'm sick of it. It would have been nice. It's such a long day, like such a
Yeah.
long day. So
Yeah, at least you got your day with the cup. Like that, and it had an unreal experience there. So that's all that matters.
yeah, exactly.
So then the following year, you play in 65 games for the New Jersey Devils. Like, what was it like going from an organization you've been with since the beginning of your pro career and then going over to New Jersey?
um New Jersey was easy because I had played for John Hines, I'd played for Elaine Nazardine. I knew Tom Fitzgerald, and I knew Ray Shiro, and then I knew some players on the team. So when I got there, I actually had a sneaky good year. The production just never came. Like, in terms of how I played and doing everything by the book, and kind of really kept it respectful off the ice, didn't really go out too much, and did everything by the book. And we were really bad, so they had to cut ties with players, and I was one of them. A lot of it was probably based on like my persona around the rink. Like, I don't have many bad days, and when you're losing, they want you to look like you're having a bad day. So it was one of those things that there's no hard feelings. It didn't work out past that 1 year, but I had a great time living on the East Coast and being in Hoboken, being able to go to New York back and forth. And it was a really cool experience, even though we sucked.
Yeah, absolutely. And you like you said, you got to take care of the body. Like you played 65 games that year, and that's like the most you play in a single season in your NHL career. So you got to take care of your body, and especially when you're playing that many games. Like, what was your mindset throughout playing those games? And just it's the most you play in your career. It's like, what was your mindset towards practices and towards games?
So I think I got healthy scratched for three three or four. So that would take me to 69. And then I missed 9 games with a high ankle sprain that no one touched me. I just went into the boards
Just that odd play.
Yeah, it was against Montreal. I remember it, and I just missed. The ice at the Prudential is a little. It's actually good ice, but by the boards it gets a little choppy, and I just caught a rut and finished the game. And then after I was like, I can't walk, and then I missed 3 more games because I got stepped on in practice. So it's not. It wasn't really ever, other than the Oshie hit, I never really injured myself by other people. It was always just by me. So like, or in practice, or just stupid stuff. Like I actually
just the random shit that happens.
My 3rd year, I tore both my labrums and my shoulders after I scored a goal because I went in the boards like with my arms up, and I tore both. I couldn't even lift my arms the next day. So
Ouch.
like injuries like that, I mean, there's nothing you can do. It is what it is. Like obviously, if I were to redo it, I wouldn't do that. But you're not really thinking, oh, this is gonna tear both my shoulders. So
yeah, so self-proclaimed injuries, self injuries, I guess you could call that. That's
yeah,
funny though.
Just unlucky. Maybe I wasn't really treating my body as well as I should have been. Like it's a whole bunch of things kind of lumped into one. But I did have bad luck. I wish I could have shown what I could really do at the next level, but it doesn't keep me up at night. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So then the following year, like you said, you got cut ropes from New Jersey. So then you go on to St. Louis to the Blues organization where you played 6 games there, but you played 60 games in the AHL with the Chicago Wolves, notching 57 points that season. So like, what was your experience with St. Louis and then going down to the Wolves and putting on a hell of a year there?
So I signed there. It was between there and Washington, and I had good rapport with Robert Bertuzzo. I knew they had a great group of guys there. I thought they had a sick team, and they actually did have a sick team. They just started poorly, and they ended up winning the cup the next year. But so that year, I was having a great summer, and closer I got, I noticed my knees started to give way. So I went into the camp. Camp wasn't that bad, but I noticed in the first preseason game, like after we flew to Washington, I couldn't skate. Like my knees were killing me. Like I don't know what was wrong. I was trying to get treatment. I was trying to figure out what was wrong. I knew I had tendonitis, but I didn't know like that it had advanced into tendinosis, which is basically like you have like cavities in your knees. So I got sent down, which was pretty expected. First time in a long time first time ever put on waivers. But so I went down to Chicago, and it was the best. Like I had some of my best times with that team there. We were an older group because it was joined with Vegas, and they didn't really have any prospects at the time. They had like 2 or 3. So it was a bunch of older guys, a lot of guys on one ways making good money in a big city. But my knees, like I give her a lot of credit to Rocky Thompson, who I think he just left San Jose as assistant coach, but he was head coach in Chicago, and he knew how bad my knees were. So he basically kind of just let me do my thing in practice to keep my mental side going, because he knew I was struggling physically. So I kind of brought this energy that it was like this fun energy to the team when things weren't going well. Tried to be just kind of a outlet for guys, for young guys, for older guys. And he didn't play me all that much, but he played me first power play because that was how I was going to succeed right at that time. Moved me to center so I could just not skate as much or not have to use speed as much. And he just played me 13, 14 minutes a game, and I ended up putting up good numbers because I knew what was expected out of me. He was a no-nonsense guy, and like one of my favorite coaches I've had along the way. And he's one of those guys who listens to his players, who wants feedback, who wants to win, but he doesn't want to do it just his way. So that's why I have a lot of respect for Rocky.
Yeah, absolutely. And like he when he played, he was a strong, like hard guy. So like, what was it like playing for a guy like that, and like just having him know like his expectations, and just going out there and just playing, especially in his first year with the Wolves. Like he put up, I believe you guys finished like first place that year. So like, what was it like just being there?
Last place for a long time. So this is like So I think he was like, well, geez, on paper, like we're the best team in the league. Like, what's going on? But I think because we were best team on paper, all these guys were used to playing like top minutes. So it was kind of finding the niche of like the roles on the team, because it was all like stud AHLers. So it was about kind of finding, basically rolling through three lines, having a fourth line that kind of was PK. And then Rocky's hard job was he's hired by Vegas, but he has St. Louis players on the team too. So not trying to do what's right by the team. And we ran into a couple problems with that, butting heads with what was right for like the prospects and like for the different teams. But Rocky would, like, honestly, giving him credit, like he stood up for the vets on the team and he stood up for what he thought we would needed to win. And all of a sudden, when the veterans saw that, everything started clicking around December. I think we went on like a 15-game home winning streak. Like it was crazy. Like our team just started clicking, and that year, like there was a lot of good teams in the Central. So we kind of, to come back from that big of a deficit was kind of an ode to how good our team was.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to St. Louis, like how you were, like you had that knee problem or leg problem, and then you came back to the AHL. Like, what was your mindset? Like getting like sent back down. Like even though you said you knew they were gonna get sent back down, like some guys will complain about it, but like it seems like you didn't complain and just did your work and just grinded throughout that process and trying to get your leg better.
Actually, I actually never even wanted to get called up. I remember it was like October. I got a call that said, "Hey, we're calling you up," and I was in the car with, I think, TJ Tynan and someone else. I was like, I don't even want to go, like, because I could still produce at the AHL level with lack of speed, but I know if I go up there, I'm going to be expected to bring energy, hit, all these things that I couldn't do because my legs weren't working. Like I was having to Uber to and from games because I couldn't drive, and it's still something I'm dealing with. Like I have a doctor's appointment to try to get some stuff work done to him tomorrow. And when I went back down, it was kind of like a thank God. Like in the NHL, like if you're not at your best, it's hard to hide out there. It's like you get pretty exposed really quick. I just went up there, kind of played simple. Still couldn't skate. Like when I tell you, like my knees, I was taking so much meds just to like get through practice that's why towards the end of my career, I was like, all right, it's not worth it anymore. Like I need to think about my long-term health here. And when I went back to Chicago, met up with the team in Manitoba, and we lost both games. And I think our stud guys were all -5 or -4 in the two games. So that was like, all right, I came back to this situation. We got to figure out how to turn this around before like something major happens. And then kept losing for like another week or two. And then all of a sudden we just started rolling our top three lines. I mean, our top nine was probably the best top nine I've ever seen in the AHL level. And granted, if I had been healthy, it would have been stupid how good we could have been. Yeah. But even the guys who were getting healthy scratched were like sick. So it was a awesome team, awesome organization. I would say nothing but good things in terms of Chicago and how it's run, the AHL team there.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the following year, that's when like you were having problems with that, with like coming out or going into retirement and then coming out of retirement a little bit. You went to the KHL to where you experienced something new and you signed Dynamo to play for Minsk. So like what was like those first few games before deciding to hang him up for a little bit before coming back the following year to play in Tucson?
So St. Louis qualified me, and which means they hold my rights, but they didn't want to sign me. So basically that straps me from doing anything in North America. So then you start looking overseas, and I knew my knees were bad. They had an American coach there. So my agent's point of view was like, all right, you got to capitalize on money for the time being. I gave him the lowdown of how bad my knees were. I don't think they really understood. But I was like, hey, like I can't run, I can't jump. I strictly can play regular season games. I can't be doing these long hour and a half practices that they're known for over in Europe. And got there and just like, yeah, whatever, come over here, we'll figure it out. And then just got there and it was just it was a mess in terms of, I mean, played 9 preseason games, like played 4 games in 5 days one time before the season even starts. So
Wow.
and this is with like no medical like attention to my knees that had prior already been hurting. So now they're like 10 times worse than they were. And I had like some things happen back home. One of my best buddies passed away and I needed to come home for the funeral. And I was planning on going back, but after talking with my parents and whatnot, I had to get surgery. And because my mental state was like so in the gutter from being over there, kind of on an island, hockey sucking, my legs hurting, my body being even worse than that. So it was one of those things I had to come home for myself. And then it was an awesome year off in terms of hanging out with my family, my friends. I hadn't been in LA since 2009. So that's almost a decade removed, and then got to just kind of reconnect with a bunch of people.
Yeah, you gotta stay healthy any way you can. You gotta stay healthy, gotta stay rested, like rest that mindset up, rest that mind up, like whenever you can. Like mental health is especially important with that aspect, and just how important that, or like how it's come from a few years ago to now, and like the mental health awareness, like it's huge.
Yeah, 100%. I think more people need to be not afraid to speak up, or because like I think it used to just be kind of pushed away, like you're like being like that situation. I mean, I left a lot of money on the table. Like a lot of people would be like, oh, we'll just get through it. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I could stay and get through it, but at what expense? Like,
Yeah.
what's the point of having money if you're miserable and unhealthy? So it's like, I try to get, and that's basically why I retired. You know, I had offers to play last year. I had offers to play this year. I actually just skated yesterday, and like I could still play. I couldn't play a full season, so that's where kind of the benefit and risk don't match up anymore, and that's why I had to hang them up.
Yeah, gotta stay sane somehow, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so then after that year, you go into your last year of pro hockey in Tucson, Arizona for the Tucson Roadrunners. Like, what was it like that last year and playing in beautiful Tucson, Arizona?
It was cool, you know. It was kind of changing of the guard in the North American hockey, because when I came into the AHL, like it was like I think we had like 10 30 year olds. It was you had like a few young guys, a couple prospects on the team, but like last year, like I was the second oldest, um, and then everyone was under 25 basically. After that, me and Andy Mealy were the old guys on the team, which is weird to say because I was 28. I was 27 actually. So it was good though. You know, like taking a year off took me a little bit to get my feel for the game back in terms of production. You know, the game over here had been changing a little bit, getting a little more north south. Um, and but once I figured it out, I think after my first, I think I won a point per game after my first 10, which I kind of expected. You know, after taking a year off hockey, it's hard to come back. And then this is all with my knee kind of still hurting. And I actually had last game in Chicago, actually, I had torn my rotator cuff and labrum even more so than I had before. So I was playing with a shoulder brace, trying to figure out how to play on the ice without looking like too soft. You know, like you can't hit on my right side, can't really reach for pucks with my right arm. So it was kind of finding that balance. Luckily, I played with Braden Burke and Andy Mealy, so they could just go skate as fast as they can, give me the puck, and it ended up working that way. But same thing, we won our division. Our team was nasty, so I had a good teams in AHL that really we really were a good team. So I was fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. A good year to hang them up after that year and just be happy with your career. Are you happy with how your career ended, or would you want to give it a little bit more?
No, I mean, I know I have more to give, but it's not smart.
Yeah.
I have other ventures that I'm working on right now that are starting to take off, and I mean, I'll make more money outside of hockey than I would ever have made inside of hockey, especially when now you're adding in the risk. Now you're adding in COVID, that there's not money to give for AHL guys who now I'm very old in the AHL world. Where back in the day, like 29 was, guys were getting still looks in the NHL at 29. So it was the right time for me to be done. I was sick of going to the rink every day. I was sick of putting on my gear every day. I was sick of doing everything I could do to make my knee feel just below average. You know, like there was never even feeling average. So it was kind of like that's exhausting in itself. It's like, all right, well, I got to just go sit inside all day, or else if I walk around, I won't be able to skate tomorrow. So I'm at peace with that. And now I have a good thing going on here in Arizona, and I still get on the ice. Just started, joined a men's league team. So we'll see if I can get any points in that.
Yeah, there we go. At least you're at peace with how your career ended, and just that it was good to hang him up when you did.
Yeah, you know, and like I did things my way. I didn't adhere to the man at all. Like I I went to the rink with a smile even when they told me not to, and I was playful with the fans on social media when they told me not to. And I think that's another thing. I I know that my agent and people that were around me at the time were like, "Hey, why don't you just play the game how you're supposed to?" It's like, okay, well then you're stripping me of who I am as a person. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose that, and I don't think I did, and that's kind of the most important thing.
Yeah, that's awesome that you were able to keep what you want, and like keep it to yourself, like how you want, like your personality, like that's what really matters, is how you act and like how you are as a person.
Yeah, I mean, authenticity is my number one trait I look for in people. It's like, if you're gonna tell me how to act, or I mean, everything has to be out of respect for sure, but
Yeah.
uh, just because we're at a rink and you're paying me doesn't mean I can't smile. So that was my thought to it. And then the last year in Tucson, I just kind of got a little too vocal in terms of like how I thought things should be ran. And it's like, okay, I forget that these are my bosses basically.
Yeah.
So it was trying to find a happy medium of shutting up and just doing what I'm told.
Yeah, for sure. So, Beau, I have a few more questions before we wrap things up here. So, you have any other tips for hockey players looking to get to that next level?
Yeah, I mean, I think just realize it's your journey, you know, like there's going to be a lot of pressure from your parents and from your advisors, from your coaches. It's like, um, do whatever makes you happy, do it well, and treat other people with compassion. I feel like that's a non-negotiable, and it'll take you far in life if you do things the right way, and make it play other sports too. Don't only play hockey. You know, it's my best hockey games were always when I came back to it. Like if I were to practice 5 times this week, by that fifth skate, I wouldn't feel better. I'd feel
Yeah.
actually progressively worse. I think kind of letting your brain get hungry for the sport, getting hungry to get on the ice is a huge factor, and that's why kids should take time off and try different things. And who knows, maybe you find something you like better than hockey. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I love that tip. And like, it's important to play other sports because it also helps with what you're trying to do. It helps with
yeah,
like being more athletic, more flexible, like more mobile. Like it helps you in both hockey and the other sports you play.
100%, 100%.
So then my next question for you is what was your least favorite and favorite AHL arenas to play in?
AHL arena to play in. I think my favorite to play in was Wilkes-Barre. Wilkes-Barre had a great, like, I just loved Wilkes-Barre. It's like, it's in rural Pennsylvania, but like the people there are like, it's such a sports state, you know, like like the people who follow the Penguins follow the Wilkes-Barre, they follow the Nailers, like all the way down, and they treat you like gold there. And like I always had such a good interactions with, even when Pittsburgh fans hated me, as they should have, because I was not returning on their investment of drafted in the first round. But like in terms of being out in the public, like everyone always treated me great. Bought beers for me, had beers with me, and it was fun to see that interaction. And I hope they look back on that time and it's like, all right, well, things didn't work out, but at least he wasn't an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So like, what was your favorite NHL rink to play in then?
NHL would probably be Montreal Center for sure.
That seems like a sick place to play in.
And you know what? Like there are just a bunch of games there that I played well in and the team played well in, and I don't remember losing a game there when I played. So it's just kind of the correlation. And then also we stayed at an awesome hotel that was right next to my favorite Italian joint in the whole NHL. So it was like everything. And then if you had a chance to go out there, going out in Montreal is crazy too. So you put all those things together, you get an awesome place to play.
Yeah, you get a great place for sure. What were your least favorite AHL and NHL rinks?
Least favorite AHL would be let's say Stockton. Stockton sucked. I mean, their team was good too. So like their team was big and good, and like their rink was so like that. The city too is like you're basically just walking from your hotel across the street to the rink, and you don't go anywhere else. And the fans are crazy, and they had a good team to cheer for. And then the last time we played there, like the whole team got food poisoning. So from the hotel food. So it was just kind of a funny, so we're all puking on the bench. Like we ended up tying and like going to overtime, but that was definitely the worst. And then my least favorite NHL was probably Anaheim. Even though it was close to home, it was just one of those things that kind of had like, I loved being there, but it didn't feel like I was like there for an NHL game. Never played a good game there. Ice was horrible. It was just one of those things. Like I actually didn't like playing in California so Stockton's in California as well. Just one of those things. I kind of liked separating my life at home and my work life. So it was nice to visit, but I didn't play too many good games there. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty funny because you would think that you'd, from a hometown perspective, like you'd play well there, but you didn't. Like that.
Yeah,
that
you honestly, you mentally, you get kind of exhausted with everything else that's going on, and then it translates to the game. Your legs feel heavy, and it's like, it's just one of those things that it's like anywhere but those two places. I don't like playing at Staples. I didn't like playing at the Pond. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So then my final question for you is, you're trying to get a little lift in, a little pump. Like, what's your favorite pump up song? Like, what are you listening to?
I mean, I usually just put on the Big Booty mixes and on SoundCloud just because I don't have to change this is my first experience with public gyms because I always used to do private growing up throughout my career. And I mean, I hate public gyms. I'm going to do everything in my power to own or part own a private one at some point or put one in my backyard. But I'll just put on a mix and just let it go and set my phone off to the side because I don't really like being in a gym very long. So I get in there, I get in, get out within 25 minutes. I don't do cardio because I can't with my knees. So basically I'm just trying to lift as fast, as hard as possible to get my heart rate up. And then I just go home.
Yeah, I like that. I'm the same way. Just do your work and get out. Like that's what I'm in the gym for.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, that's unreal. But Beau, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I want to wish you the best of luck with everything going forward. And this was a ton of fun. We'll eventually have to get you on for a part 2 as well.
Awesome, buddy. Anytime, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.